Hi, I'm Jana Noah with Under History Light, and today I will name 7 most common obstacles our preteens are facing. Preteens are kids ages between 9 and 12. So in the US school system, that would be late elementary and beginning of middle school. I've faced it as a parent who raised 3 kids. They're grown by now. I've also observed it as a teacher when I worked in schools. So I've seen it so many times. Here are 7 most common obstacles for preteens. Number 1, define authority of a parent. Whether your kids go to school or whether you homeschool them, by this time, those kids are ready to study independently. And this is a very good skill we're teaching them, which is good. But also by this time, they will try to make their decision independently by often skipping the authority of their parents. Because at this age, the opinion of their peers matters most. So even the most compliant kids will try to defy authority of their parents once they turn double digit or maybe close to 10. And I do have a longer video on this topic. Please check it out. I'm giving some helpful tips. Obstacle number 2, physical and hormonal changes. This one is kind of obvious for both boys and girls. Their bodies are changing at this time, and this is what we call beginning of the puberty, right? At this time, around ages 9 and 10. And if you remember yourself at that age, you might remember being kind of nervous about the major changes in your body and maybe even scared, and it can cause some anxiety as well. Obstacle number 3, broken friendships and lack of friends. If you have kids, you probably know that younger children are making friends easily when they're young, so it's not a problem. But once they get to the late elementary grade, they become picky, their preferences are changing, and some of them are becoming very shy. So don't be surprised that by the time they're in 6th grade, they will come home and they will say, well, I don't have any friends. So that's when the school loneliness becomes very common. And I've observed it 3 times over, and I've seen it as a teacher. So, and I do have good video for parents on this topic with some helpful tips, and I also have video series for kids, specifically for preteens. Please check them out. Obstacle number 4, academic pressure. It may or may not be your child. Your child might be very successful academically, but pre-K to 2nd grade is considered to be early childhood, right? So we don't give them grades until they get to 3rd grade, until they're about 9. That's when the grading system kicks in, and that's when testing, state testing, introduced. I've seen a lot of administrators and teachers going through that anxiety process whenever they have to deal with the tests and grades, especially failing grades. And I've seen how that anxiety spread to students and to parents. So that's a very common obstacle by the time your child gets to 3rd or 4th grade. And I do have a video, longer video for parents on this topic with some good tips. Please check it out. Obstacle number 5, bullying. I know this topic gets a lot of discussions and a lot of attention, even on the federal level, right? Teachers have to do special training every year. And you would think this issue would be solved, but as a teacher and as a parent, I can testify that it is not solved. Once your kids enter middle school or even Christian summer camp, they will face bullying. Today, bullying might not include direct fighting. I don't know if I'm using the right word. Today, bullying gets a little bit more sophisticated, especially if you think about cyberbullying, because it's always easier to sneak some mean comments online, right? Even in person, if we observe today bullying, in late elementary, middle school, the most common in-person bullying is excluding or ignoring someone. I've heard a lot of complaints and I observed it many times, unfortunately. And in the middle school, verbal bullying, especially among girls, is very common. So please be prepared. And I do have some resources on our website. We have some short videos that are specifically created for Christian families. And they're pretty short and they're helpful. So please check them out. Obstacle number 6, comparison and competition. What I observed as a teacher, even in 2nd grade, kids get very competitive academically, even though I didn't give them any grades at that time. But by the time kids get to 3rd, 4th grade, middle school, the grading system is introduced and they will be comparing their grades with their peers' grades. And then they will compare just about anything, their clothes, their looks, their parents with their friends' parents. It can be very healthy and motivating for some kids, but for others it can cause anxiety. So please be prepared. Obstacle number 7, overload on social media. This topic also gets a lot of attention today. And if you think about it, about a decade ago, kids had their smartphones in high school. Today, most kids have their smartphones in elementary grades. It is quite obvious that parents with the busy lifestyles want to communicate with their kids easily, but more and more parents realize that excessive use of smartphones can lead to anxiety and depression in kids, especially if we think about cyberbullying. And I also have a longer video for parents on this topic with some helpful tips. Those are the 7 obstacles I wanted to share. If you have some other obstacles that you experience right now with your preteens, please post them right here. I would like to hear and read your questions and your comments, and I will respond. We also have some helpful resources, because this is our ministry. Please check them out. I have some booklets that I wrote for preteens, and they cover most of the topics that I mentioned. So please check them out and subscribe. Meanwhile, please remember that God loves you, your family, and your kids.